The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited about my guest tonight, G.S. Jerry. Let me pull him up. Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me
I,
on the show. It's a pleasure.
I am honored to have you on my show, and I'm going to share with our audience a little bit about G.S. Jerry. He is an award winning author known for bringing a unique blend of humor, satire, and captivating narratives to the literary stage. He has a knack for turning ordinary situations into extraordinary tales, leaving readers laughing and reflecting on life's absurdities. With multiple awards and Amazon's #1 bestsellers, Jerry work transcends genres, capturing the imagination of readers from all around the world, from book binary to military service to cybersecurity expertise. Jerry's diverse background enriches his storytelling and offers a profound understanding of the human condition. Whether it's uproariously comedies or darkly humorous crime thrillers, each book is a roller coaster of wit, charm, and unforgettable moments. Jerry's books have become must reads for anyone looking for a good dose of humor and heart. Laugh, ponder, and embark on unforgettable journeys through the lens of this literary mischief maker. He has many awards, five-star awards for his books, his best nonfiction audiobook, Global Ebook Awards, Best Ebook Cover, Global Ebook Awards, Best Humor, Comedy, Nonfiction Ebook. I could go on and on and on. And we're going to talk about his books, but let me also tell you about his professional accolades. 7 years, United States Navy veteran. Thank you so much for serving. Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal recipient. So you're in the Navy and the Marines?
No, so whenever you get the award, it's the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. So Navy and the Marine Corps, like the Marine Corps rolls up under the Navy.
Oh, okay, okay. And he is a qualified security assessor, a PCI Security Standards Council, AWS Solutions Architect Associate, Amazon Web Services Certified Information Systems Auditor, Lead Implementer, British Standards Institutions. He has a master's in Science Information Assurance, Regis University, and a bachelor's in Science Computer Information Systems, again from Regis University. Well, with all of that, I am just honored and honored and honored to have you here. So, what I would like for you to do is share with our audience your journey, starting from wherever you want to start childhood on up and how you have become the person that you are. What inspired you to become an author? Include that in your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my father, coincidentally enough, he had his own bookbindery business, and so the books that as you get them, they come, paperback, hardcover, and those get run through machines. The paper gets cut, and so he had this business for many years. And he'd be like, "Jerry, I need you to come up here and work with me. I need your help." And I'm like 10 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old. I'm like, "Dad, I got sports to play. Like, I don't want to go do that. Like, I got things to do. I don't want to go help." But having me there obviously instilled a work ethic in me, and so I've been working for a long time up there. I when I was even younger in elementary school, I was always up there. So like I learned the business and all that. And then fast forward, 10, 15 years later, and I decided to write a book. And so even that is just like super unexpected because I'm not an avid reader, I would say. And I'm definitely the kid that when I was growing up, they're like, "Hey, you got to write this book report." I would go and watch the movies, and I would write the book report based on the movies because I have too many things to do. I have too many sports to play. I want to be outside. I want to hang out with my friends. And so that's what I did. And it always worked out. Like I would watch The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I'd get A's in my book reports. So it worked out for me. But now here I am on the other side of it, and I was like, I probably should have read those.
Oh my goodness. So you self-publish?
Yeah, the first two I did self-publish. The third one I was traditionally published. So Lisa Marie Garcia, she has her own publishing company, and so I was actually able to do an anthology and be part of that third book. So I've done self-publishing and I've done the traditional publishing.
Okay, awesome. And we're going to be showing all of your books as we're talking. But I want to talk about, tell us a little more about your journey and the things that you've experienced and some of the things that we talked about before we got on the air.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the latest book that came out is "Leaving Stronger Than You Started." And so when Lisa approached me, she said that it's basically about like, hey, what's like the most impactful moment that's happened to you that you've left stronger than when you started? So I thought about this, and I was like, the most memorable experience I can have is when I had my son, and I was 19 when he was born. So I did the teenage pregnancy thing before 16 and Pregnant was like a popular TV show. And as I was going through this experience, I was 18. I had just graduated high school, and I'm like, when you're 18, you're naive. You've got the world on a string, and so I was like, I'm just going to join the Navy. I'm going to get my degrees. I'm going to do big things, and I never thought I was going to be like that guy. And so I had friends that had got their girlfriends pregnant. I'm like, not me. I'm too smart. Not going to happen. And God obviously had other plans for me. So my wife, my girlfriend at the time, she gets pregnant like shortly after New Year's. Stupid teenagers drinking alcohol, and so that's what happened. My girlfriend gets pregnant. We get married about 6 months later. I joined the Navy, and then we have my first son. And so when we had him, I don't know that I had never seen a baby born in person. And so the fact that it was my own child, it was just life-changing experience. Like I cried a lot, and I'm not a big crier, and so it was just like from that point on, I felt like I was just changed forever. So then I was like, oh, maybe I'll have one or two. And now I'm about to have my sixth kid.
Oh my
We have five
goodness.
kids right now, and number six is on the way in March. So, God has blessed me tremendously through that, especially being able to have so many kids.
That is wonderful. And not most teenage marriages don't last.
Yeah, by the grace of God, I'll say that. It's not easy. It is not easy. Marriage is tough. Being a parent is tough. So
Yes, it
compound those things,
is.
especially at a young age.
Yes, it is. Well, what were some of the ways that you overcame some of the challenges? And I'm sure going into the Navy, that began to shape and mold you as well. And
Oh
so
yeah.
how did being a parent, what were some of the things? Because one of the areas that I do focus on are parents and their children. As a coach, I work with parents. I also work with kids individually and collectively. So anytime I have parents on my show, I definitely want to talk about that. So tell me, what was, as a teenage, married, in the military, father, how did that, what were some of your challenges that you had to face and overcome?
The military is a whole different lifestyle. There's just a lot of different people, a lot of diverse people. There are a lot of people from different backgrounds, different cultures. And so before joining the Navy, right, like you have a select group of friends, you hang out with those select people from high school, you have your like cliques and all that. And so then you get taken out of your element, taken into the military and into boot camp, which is completely different. People are yelling at you all the time. I'm pretty tough. My dad yelled a lot, so like it didn't really bother me. But then I'm still like, it's the class clown school, so I'm like cutting up while we're like marching and line. I'll make like bird sounds or whatever, try and get like people to laugh and also get in trouble. But whenever you're in the military, you don't make a lot of money, so you get like certain allowances for month or for food. You get certain allowances for housing, and so I think the most I ever made in the military was something like $32,000, and so. I went negative on my bank account a lot, especially when I first started out. We were living on base, then we lived in like housing through the military, and so I would end up going negative on my bank just so I could have groceries and provide for my family. And it was difficult. Like those were tough seasons. But looking back on it now, I mean, it just shows you how much God provides for you, even when you don't think you have anything. Because I really didn't have anything. I had what I could have in the Navy, and even if my wife would have worked, then I never would have saw her. And all she would have done is, if we did put the kids in daycare, that's all she's doing is paying for daycare. So like, what's the real benefit there? We can struggle with each other, and we'll get through it, and we'll be able to be around our kids and each other. And so that's really what we kind of focused on. And so I was in the Navy for 7 years, and ultimately the only reason I even joined the military was I wanted to get a degree. No one else in my family had got a degree. When I was growing up, I played a lot of basketball. I thought I was going to get like a scholarship or something. And my girlfriend got pregnant. Then I was like, well, I definitely got to join the Navy now because I need a job. And so, I did get my degree. So I got my bachelor's degree while I was in. So I think by the time I finished my bachelor's degree, I had 3 kids at the time. And so I got my bachelor's degree in 4 years, and then they had a program where I could get my master's in 2 years. So I got my master's, and then I think the next year my 4th kid was born. So so I was going to the Navy full time, going to school full time,
and having babies,
and having babies. That's right, and still somehow trying to provide for everyone. So.
Oh, that is amazing. Kudos to you. I really admire what you've gone through and how you've come out still with a sense of humor, and still, laughter is great medicine, as scripture says.
100%.
Have a merry heart. And so let's dive in to some of these books. Out of the 3 that I have here, which was your first?
Meth, Murder, and Amazon. That's the one that started it all.
Okay. Tell us about this book.
All right. So the one that's on the screen, or Meth, Murder,
Yeah.
and Amazon?
Is that mass? Oh,
No, that's hysterical. So that's the second one that came out last year.
Oh, okay. This one.
All right.
Okay. Meth. Okay. Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, what is that? Did somebody die doing meth or what?
Tell
us about that.
You read it in my bio how I take like ordinary situations and I turn them into extraordinary tales. And so there's a house here on the cover, Meth, Murder, and Amazon. And so this story is about essentially the worst real estate transaction you could ever imagine. And so this is 2019. This is before the pandemic hits. It's like a huge seller's market in Colorado. This story actually happened to me and my family. Now I change everybody's name, change all the locations, but what happened actually did happen. And so we go to sell our house in Colorado. We put it on the market. And the guy we bought the house from, he's my agent that's going to sell it. And so he's like, hey, this is going to sell in 30 days. It doesn't sell in 30 days. I come to find out he's actually not living in Colorado. He's not marketing the house. He's moved to Arizona, just doing nothing. And so the lady that's like his assistant was like, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to a different firm. Why don't you follow me? I was like, great. We already have a good relationship. You met my family. You found out my kids, like all this stuff. So then 30 days goes by. I'm on real estate agent number 2. Well, they don't tell you all this stuff about when you sell your house, but what one agent does, the other agent doesn't do. So she's like, no, we have to scrap everything. We need to take new photos, new description. So like we lose like another month. So then everything gets up and we're like, I can't take this. Like we need a vacation. So we go to see my mom. My mom gets diagnosed with like early stage lung cancer at this time. So we're like, hey, let's go see my mom. She's older. She's not gonna be around forever, right? Let's go spend some time with her. And so this is when the crazy stuff happens. And so we're away, we're in Florida, we're hanging out, we're supposed to have an open house. And so during the open house, I get a call from my real estate agent like 30 minutes before it's supposed to start. She's freaking out. She's like, Jerry, someone is inside the house. And I was like, what do you mean someone's in the house? She's like, someone's inside the house and they're hiding under the bed. I was like, what? She's like, yes. Is anybody supposed to be here? I'm like, absolutely not. It's an open house, right? And she's like, great. I called the cops. Cops show up, nobody's there. So then they're like, what happened? So we lose the open house. My wife's like super upset. We're in Panera Bread, like talking, and she's crying, like she's so upset because like we've already had like a tough situation for the last couple of months. 4 days later, I get a call from the same real estate agent, and she's like, Jerry, we smelled something burning in your garage. It smelled like burning plastic. We had to come back to the house because we left like the garage was open or something like that. They're like, I was like, oh, is there an electrical fire? Like, what's happening? And she's like, oh, well, burning plastic, that means meth. And so we think someone could be making meth on the premises. Someone was smoking meth on the premises. And so we're going to flag your house in the MLS for suspicious behavior if you do not get a meth test done. I said, you're absolutely not going to do that. I will sue you. So fired her, come back home from Florida. And then I really find out that it's my real estate agent who's doing all of this. The one that I met, all this stuff. She actually calls the cops on me, says we must have murdered someone, hit the body under the bed, like crazy stuff. Right. And I mean, I've got speeding tickets, but like I've never been arrested, nothing like that. And so obviously this crazy stuff happens. So now I have to get another real estate agent. So now I'm on 3 real estate agents, finally sell the house, move to Colorado. But it's like the craziest set of circumstances. Like you think like you've had a bad experience selling a house, like this has got to be up there, like one of the top worst experiences. So after all this happens, I'm like, hey, I was talking to a friend about it because I used to work at Amazon. So that's how the Amazon comes into play. And I was like, meth murder on Amazon. I'm going to write a book about this. And I do that. They're like, ha, 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 that's what's funny. And then what led to me writing the book was I do a lot of technical report writing at work. And I wrote a guy that worked for me submits a report to the client. And the client calls me like the very next day. And she's like, Jerry, this report is exactly the same as last year. This has to be corrected. It says we did things we didn't do. You said we went on site. There is no on site because COVID's happening at this point in time. And I was like, oh no, please don't say this is true because this is like a 500-page report. I look at it. I start going through it. It's 100% the same. And I was like, this is going to take a lot of work. What makes it bad is that the guy who plagiarized the report stole it from me. I was the one who wrote the report the year before. So he literally took what I wrote, said this is his report, pass it off to her. So now I have to go in and rewrite the report. It takes me 2 months to fix it. I had like 200 pages. So it's like a 750-page report at this point. And I get done with it. I'm like, I wrote a novel. Like, I feel like I just wrote a novel. Like, I put so much work into it. I'm like, that's it. I'm going to write a book. And I told people this, and they're like, no, you're not. They didn't believe me. They're like, haha, yeah, sure, you're going to write a book. I'm like, no, I'm really going to do it. And so that's how it started.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Please get the book. I put the link underneath the book right here. Get the book because I have so many questions. I need to get the books.
Oh, there's some good stuff in there. Yeah. And like when I was deciding to write the book, I was like, I don't want to just write what everybody writes or do it the same way. So it's like me thinking like, hey, how can I do something different? I'm like, I'm going to break all the rules. And so you're supposed to use perfect sentences. You're not supposed to misspell words. And so I'll use run-on sentences. I'll make up my own words. I have rhymes in there, songs in there, movie references, just a lot of different things to really draw you in. I'll actually talk to the readers as they're going like, oh, what do you think about this? Can you believe that they did that? And so I really try to like engage with the reader as they're reading it. And so then I came to find out like there are actually other people that kind of do what I do. And I found out like the guy who wrote Dexter, Jeff Lindsay, he does use run-on sentences, and C.S. Lewis, he uses run-on sentences. So I was like, okay, well, I didn't like reinvent the wheel there, but I thought I was because like I don't read a ton of books, like I said. So.
That is amazing. And I know we don't want to give too much away with the book, but your realtor was the one that was actually doing the meth in your house?
She's the one who called the cops on me, and we got the police report. So there's actually a police report on there of what was said on the call, everything like that. And so like I have a crazy reenactment of like what it might have sounded like. She blames somebody else. She's like, I didn't call the cops. It was the lady that I was with. It it was our real estate agent. And so yeah, the meth was just like, oh, I smelled this before. And then she's like, I have family members that dealt with it, so I know what it smells like. And I was like, well, I don't know what it smells like. I've never been accused of anything like that. Like, what have you been doing in my house?
Yes, absolutely. That's something. Well, what a story. What a story. Now, let me ask you, oh, okay, so as a military person, did you do a lot of traveling with your family?
So I did move around the country a few times. So I joined in 2005, and so I had to go to boot camp in Illinois. But you obviously can't bring your family, so I'm gone for like 8 weeks while my wife is pregnant. While we're in actually boot camp, like she gets to visit for like a few days, goes into preterm labor. So then we have to go to the hospital, and I think she's like 7 or 8 months pregnant at the time. They're like, you're not far along. Like, we got to give you steroid shots so the baby's lungs develop in case you have this baby. But they're like, we do not want you to have this baby. So like we deal with that. Then I come back to Florida. So like I'm originally from Florida. I come back to Florida and I get stationed in Florida for about a year. So she comes and lives with me in Florida. Then I have to go to school in Virginia for 30 days. Then I go from Virginia to California, and I'm there for 2 years. Then I go from California back to Virginia, and I stay there for 4 years. And so up, down, all around the country essentially, but I actually never got deployed. I never got deployed overseas, anything like that. So like I was always with my family. So like even in the military where, people do lose a lot of family time and a lot of time with their loved ones, I never had to endure that. So I
Wow.
thank God for that, because that was huge.
Yes. Yes, that's very huge. So your family has been with you even the whole time that you were in the military.
Yep.
That's
That's right.
beautiful. That's beautiful. And I know there are other things that you do other than write books. So tell us about some of the other things that you're involved in and how you're impacting the world.
Yeah. So I just got done doing a discipleship program at my church. I wasn't even planning to do it. I kind of asked, like, hey, I never heard you guys advertise this. I used to go to a different church and they had something. Do you guys do that? And so the assistant pastor is like, we do. Do you want to do it? And so when he like put me on the spot, I was like, you know what? I should do it. I should do it. So I'm going to do it. And so it's like a 16-week program, like super in depth. I have to memorize scripture. I get to memorize scripture. We go through different passages. And so there's different tasks all the way from like, hey, this is what God is. This is who Jesus is, all the way to, hey, now you're going to go evangelize and we're going to go out somewhere together and we're going to go talk to people about Jesus. And so it takes you through all these different parts of the Bible. I've been a believer for a long time. My mom, she took me to church ever since I was a little kid, ever since I remember. So, I remember asking Jesus to be my savior when I was, a little kid. So I've been following Jesus for a long time, but, there's definitely seasons in my life where I wasn't, super dedicated or really wasn't, fully invested.
Right. But scripture says, train up a child in the way he should go.
Absolutely.
And when he is old, he will not depart. Now, I did not say that they won't stray, that we won't stray,
Yeah,
but we always remember. And that's why, in my opinion, I think it is crucial that parents engage in it and have their children experience spirituality
absolutely.
and being a part. I honestly feel that many reasons why we're having the problems that we're having in our society and in our families is because we're not we're not focused on that spiritual piece, which is the most
Absolutely.
important piece in our
Where's the
lives.
boldness at, right? Where's the boldness? Like, we're believers. All these people, they say they're believers, and you go to church sometimes, and that's it. Like, where's your personal time with Jesus? If you're only getting your Jesus time when you're at church, like, what are you doing the rest of your time? That's 6 other days,
Exactly.
half of the seventh day.
Exactly. It's a daily walk,
That's right.
and so that discipleship, I can relate to that because one of the churches that I belonged to when I was in Kentucky, yeah, we did discipleship and we would take a Saturday and a group of us would just walk through neighborhoods asking
Mhm.
people what their needs were and if they wanted us to pray with them and just sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
And that is so important. And I think that's wonderful that you do that. And I can imagine that your children, because you've raised them in this way, you're raising spirit filled, spirit-led children, and that is
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Yeah, I mean,
That is,
all the ones that we have so far that they said that they accepted Jesus. We saw them get baptized, and so that's like one of the proudest moments you can have as a parent. Like, yeah,
and
they're gonna
that's
have a job. Maybe they go to college. Maybe they won't, right? But like,
right.
are they gonna be with Jesus forever? Like, that's the most important job. If you
That's
can't get them to do that, but you have all these things, like, really, what did you do? What are you working for?
yeah, and to hear a young man sharing this is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And knowing that, and you're also doing some things. There's a ministry that you're doing, Awana.
Yeah, yeah. So we have an Awanas ministry, and so we have different age groups. And so I signed up last year to do it. They're like, "Hey, we need people to help in like in the Awanas group," and I was like, I have a lot of kids. I should probably do that. And then my daughter, she's 10 years old, and so she fits right in that range. I was like, you know what, I'll do it, but I'm not going to do it because my kid's in there. I want to do it because that's what I feel like Jesus wants me to do because I love Jesus. Because if you're not doing it for the right reasons, then why are you there, right? And so, like, as I thought about it, I was like, I'm going to do this. And so the guy that was there, he was leading it. And I was like, hey, man, do you need help? Like, I'd be happy to jump. And he's like, oh my gosh, no one ever asked. This is difficult. I have to prepare all these lessons. I have a job, right? Like, if you could help even just every other week or just sometimes, like, that'd be so helpful. Well, I did end up helping. I helped out, every other week. And then there was a time where he got sick or whatever, and I would just jump in and help. He actually ended up leaving, moving out of state over the summertime. So he's gone. So then they're like, hey, we need someone to lead the Awanda group, like be the large group leader. And so I was like, I'll do it. I've already done it. I'll continue to do it. And so, my kid's going to go into the high school group next year. And I'll be like, no, I'll still stay behind. I feel like if that's where God wants me, then that's where I'll stay. So yeah, with 9 to 11-year-olds, I think there's about 50 of them in there or so. So yeah, I get to pour Jesus into them and just pray for them and, just talk to them.
That's wonderful. And Awana stands for A Workman Need Not Be Ashamed. And it is a three-pronged program. It's really a beautiful program that allows kids to have that rec time, the play time,
Yeah.
and then the Bible study time, and then the lecture time. Is that how yours is set up?
Yeah, it's a little bit condensed this right now this year compared to last year. The church is actually building a new building right like right across the yard there, and so like there's less time to be outside because they have less space because like there's all this construction going on. So they get like 10 minutes, but they were getting like 15-20 minutes. But then we do a large group discussion. So like I think last week or this week we were talking about how God is just. He's a just God. He's righteous. He shows no partiality. That's why he makes the sun shine on the just and the unjust. And so asking them questions, having them participate, and then just, essentially just talking to them like, hey, this is who Jesus is. You want to be with Jesus? Do you not want to be with Jesus? Right? These are the ways that you do it. And so kind of just talking with them, but then we break out into our small groups. And so I have fifth graders. I think there's 5 of them with us. And so we just kind of, be like, hey, how are you guys doing? We just had this hurricane came through. And so I just talked to them like, hey, do you guys need anything? Can I pray for you guys? What's going on? And the one girl told me like, oh, a tree fell on my house. It fell on my bedroom. And so I was like, oh, that's terrible. Like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, it didn't come through, but like everybody was like super scared. And so like, she's going to remember that. And so I just want to make sure like she knows like I'm there, the church is there, like, right. Like we're all here, we're united behind her. And so I think kids sometimes miss that, right? I mean, they get that from their parents sometimes, but like who else in their lives are pouring into them besides their families? And so I think Awanas is a great way to do that.
It is. And you were telling me that during the hurricanes, and there were two that came through
Yeah.
back to back. But your family, you said a tree actually fell, but it's like it moved away from your house.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That
like, yeah, we had a bunch of trees go down in our neighborhood. I had 2 trees in my front yard. And so like my house is facing like this. And the trees like fell like, 25 feet, but completely sideways. And so almost all the trees in the neighborhood fell like that. It was pretty wild because, I've been through hurricanes before. And when Helene came through, like we got some wind, but it almost didn't even rain here. Like it rained a little bit. Milton was way worse. We got way more wind. We had to get like 100-mile-an-hour winds. And so blew the trees over everywhere the trees were blown over. It was like something to see like, wow, this is like truly incredible because I'd never seen anything like that before. So
Wow. Well, thank God that you and your family and the children that you work with were safe.
Yes.
And you also have a job.
Yes. Yes, I
There's
do. Yes, I have a job.
there's other things that I mean, you have a full life with 5 kids and another one on the way, and that is just beautiful. So tell us about your work.
Yeah, so I do cybersecurity and credit card compliance. And so you go to PayPal, you provide your credit card number. PayPal needs to take that in a secure way, and all the infrastructure that supports everything that you see, everything that you interact with, has to be compliant based on a standard. Anywhere from like how they store your data, how they transmit your data or send your data, where they send it to, and everywhere downstream to make sure that the entire integrity and the security of your card is protected. And so that's what I do. It sounds super interesting, but all I do is I write a lot of technical reports at the end of the day. And so, I get to visit with a lot of cool customers, and, they say, hey, we take credit cards this way. Sometimes it's in the storm, sometimes it's online. Sometimes they don't even take it, but they support someone who takes it further up, and they're like, hey, we want you to be compliant. And so I see a lot of environments, a lot of cool stuff. You see things in the cloud, work with a lot of good customers. And so it's been interesting. I will say I don't think I'd be an author if I hadn't have this job, because I feel like it's all kind of connected. So.
That's awesome. Now, one of the things before I get to your next book, I want to ask you, as a parent, what can you share with others that can encourage them as a parent?
I mean, I would say the biggest thing is like have a relationship with your kid, right? I mean, spend time with them, be interested in what they want to be interested in. At the end of the day, they just want to spend time with you, right? And so if they're
Yes.
like, hey, daddy, I want to do this. And you're like, oh, 5 more minutes. I need to do this thing. Well, it's never 5 more minutes. 5 minutes turns into 15, turns into 30, and then it's 2 hours later. And they don't come back and ask. And soon enough, they're going to be so old that they're not even going to care to ask. Like, oh, dad's busy. I don't want to bother him. And so just making sure that like your kids know, like, hey, they can come talk to you, even if you're on your phone, on the computer, even if you're on a work call. Like if they come in and ask me something on a work call, like, oh, hold on. And I'll be like, hey, is this something that you need? Is it important? If not, I will talk to you later. But I see you, right? Like I see what you're doing. I see you have something you want to ask me, unless it's important, right? Like we can talk in a few minutes. And so I think just having that communication as well, like getting involved in your kid's life, right? Like don't just let them get on the internet and play around, right? Like have filters in place, like protect them. Like you're there to protect them until they're full grown adults and moved out of your house. Like your job is to protect them and to teach them how to be, contributing adults in society. And so like my kids will come and ask me stuff, and I have parents say like, oh, your kids talk to you about that? I'm like, yeah, our kids talk to us, like, because we try to stay involved, try to be, like, hey, how's your day going? Whatever. They have a girlfriend, like, oh, how's that going? Or if we see like warning signs, I feel like, I don't want to tell them what to do sometimes. Like there is the time where I'm like, hey, like you're out of line, like you can't say that, you can't talk to your mom like that or whatever. But there's other times where like, hey, I like this girl, I'm going to keep talking to her. I will give them advice or guidance, but I'm not going to say, hey, don't talk to that person unless there's like a huge issue here. And so I'll give them my advice. But at the end of the day, like I want them to make their own decisions. You can't control them. You have to let them learn to fail, because that's how they're going to learn too. And so just encouraging them like, hey, like I might not do that, but if that's what you want to do, go right ahead. But if it ends this way, don't say I didn't tell you, right? And so like I feel like it's kind of good for kids, because it empowers them to like, hey, I can make my own decisions. I can do certain things myself. And if it doesn't happen, right? Like there's cases where you say, hey, don't date that girl. And then my son ends up breaking up with her. He's like, Dad, you're so right. I knew you were right. How'd you know? And I was like, I didn't want to tell you, but I could see it on the other side here. And so when you're a kid, right, you don't see those things.
Absolutely. But the beauty is talking to your kids, listening to your kids. We wonder why kids don't come to their parents. That's because they fear coming to them, because they don't have that open communications and things of that nature. And so
Absolutely.
that is
That's
so
so
important.
important.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that
it's
I
everything.
mean, they should like have a certain level of fear. Like, hey, if I talk back to my mom, like I'm going to get in trouble, right? They should know that they should respect their parents, and they shouldn't talk back. They certainly shouldn't swear at you, right? Like I know I swore at my mom, and she used to hit me with a fly swatter if I swore at her. So like, like it's not like that these days, but like, with different time, different place. And so, I just think it's important to keep those lines of communication open. But even if like, you're like, hey, if you lied, tell me you lied. so that I know and we can figure out how to correct it. You're not going to get in trouble if you tell me that you lied, but if you keep lying, then you're going to get in trouble.
Right.
And
And
so
it
like
sounds,
just getting them
yes.
to get them to understand that.
Yeah, and it sounds like, because you sound like the authoritative parent, where you're listening to your children, you're also looking at their gifts, their talents, and trying to help nurture that and provide resources to help them move
Yeah,
into those areas of his their purpose and their passion. So it sounds
exactly.
like you have boundaries, but you
Yes,
also have guidelines. Boundaries are, they are not flexible. They are what they
exactly.
are. But guidelines are more flexible. And it sounds like that's the type of parent that you are. And that is just amazing. Now, having five children, do you how do you um build those relationships with them? Do you spend time with each one individually at points and times, or is everything
So
always
it,
family?
it is a little bit one-on-one. Sometimes it's all together. Sometimes it's like, hey, I'll take the boys. Sometimes I'll take the girls. But like, for instance, the most recent thing I did is there was a Colton Dixon and Austin French concert that was like 45 minutes away. And so my daughters were like, we want to go. And so I was like, all right, let's go. And so I bought tickets for it. Like they weren't like super expensive or anything. And so like a month before, then my eldest daughter, she's like, oh, well, I don't want to go. I was like, all right, that's fine. Like me and Whitney will have a great time. That's my 10-year-old. And so then we're like, hey, maybe our niece will want to go. She's 9. And so, my niece and my daughter, like they're like super tight. And so he's like, all right, yeah, she can go. And so then we went, like, we had a great time. They had so much fun. But she'll remember that forever, right? Like she
Yes.
asks all the time. She'll be like, hey, can we go on a daddy-daughter date? And I'm like, hey, like I went with Natalie, now I went with you. Well, I haven't done anything with the boys. So like I want to do something with the boys, but she's like super excited. She always wants to hang out. And so
That is
just like,
so awesome. That is
yeah,
wonderful. Oh, this is awesome. And you know what? I do have a commercial that I need to play. So let me play the commercial and then we will be right back. I've got a couple that I need to play.
Been feeling myself for a minute. Hallelujah.
Hey there, Jason McNamara here, and I'm about to drop something truly game-changing your way. Are you tired of the same old 9-to-5 grind? Feeling stuck in obtaining the life you deserve and craving something more? Well, listen up, because I've got something you will not want to miss. Introducing the No More 9-to-5 Club Professional Membership, your ticket to freedom and success in the entrepreneurial world. With our professional membership, you'll get access to weekly coaching sessions, pre-recorded trainings, and a vibrant community of fellow game changers. You get access to technology that will allow you to automate passive income streams, as well as unlock all of our expert-led trainings in the back office so you know where to go for good advice when you need it. You will also use the club to build up a residual income stream with a 2-tier 33% affiliate commission unlocked at this level, allowing you to help people help themselves while generating a residual passive income stream for yourself. And here's the kicker. For a limited time, you can unlock all of this just for a $1.11 donation to our club foundation.
I like this one.
Your first month is on us. So what's holding you back? Click the link below, make your donation, and let's start building the life and business of your dreams together. Here at the No More 9-to-5 Club, we're all about turning dreams into reality and smashing through those glass ceilings.
That's what I'm talking about, Jake.
Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, we've got the tools and support you need to thrive and evolve. And don't forget to sign up for our bootcamp training. It's the perfect way to kickstart your journey and unlock even more perks. So what are you waiting for? Join the No More 9-to-5 Club today and let's make those dreams a reality. I can't wait to see you on the inside. You only get one now. Invest it in your better future. Let's make magic happen together.
No more 9 to 5. Let me tell you about No More 9 to 5. It is a club that is designed to uplift, encourage, motivate, inspire, and educate. There are masterminds that will help with personal development and professional development. There are networking opportunities where you meet people from all over the world. There are opportunities to look at ways to earn residual income and have other streams of income. There's also, they support veterans. So any contributions to the No More 9 to 5 Club, a portion of it goes to support veterans. So even if you have a 9 to 5, you want to check out No More 9 to 5. And you can check it out for $1.11 for the first month. Check it out. Take advantage of all the things that it offers. And I'm telling you, you want to check out No More 9 to 5. So go to bit.ly/, no more, number 9, number 2, number 5, BT. Get that $1.11 subscription. Support veterans and join like minded people that are walking in their purpose and their dreams. All right. Let me go ahead and play this.
In a world where authenticity is the key, unlock your brand's potential with ADM's game-changing marketing solutions. We craft striking logos that embody your brand's spirit and build websites that captivate and convert. Our lead generation strategies are tailored to your needs, driving growth and boosting your bottom line. And our content, well, it's not just content. It's a narrative, a story that connects and resonates with your audience. But here at ADM, we're about more than just exceptional services. We're about authenticity, about staying true to who you are and what you stand for, because realness, that's what makes a brand unforgettable. So if you're ready to elevate your brand with authenticity and excellence, follow this page. Dive deeper into the world of divine marketing and become part of our community. Because at ADM, we're not just about making brands, we're about making brands matter.
ADM, Authentic Divine Marketing with Ariel Chime. She can take your business to another level authentically. So check her out at Authentic Divine Marketing, and you can go to bit.ly Divine Chime, Ariel Chime. Check it out. And I see that we've got a listener that is acknowledging us. Hello, Mitzi. Thank you so much for being here and listening to this. And so, okay, now let's go back to one of your books. And also, let me say to our audience, please like, share, and subscribe to the Vera Thomas Show. And if you care to support my show, you can do so by going through to Cash App, $, Great, Venmo at VT1117, or Zelle, Vera Thomas Show 1117 gmail.com. Or you can also, again, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. All right, I'm going to go back to your books. Let me come back to, tell me about this, because I saw the cover is very interesting. And so tell me more about what's going on with this book.
All right, so this is my second book. This is called Hysterical Hangouts with the Hind Legs. And so this is essentially every boyfriend's, experience whenever they're dating their girlfriend. Hey, you're going to meet the parents, you're going to get married. And so her family becomes your family. And so what I do is, I have a lot of experiences. My wife has 7 brothers and sisters. She has 3 brothers. And so I was like, hey, wouldn't it be fun to write a book that's like you're watching a reality show? And so I title each chapter an episode, right? So it's literally like episode 1, episode 2, season 1, season 2. And so I literally write it like you're watching a reality show. And so the camera will be hidden and it'll be like, hey, he looks at the camera and says, and so you can literally visualize like, hey, I'm literally watching a show, but in my mind. And so I thought this would be a really fun experience. I looked around, I didn't really see anything that had been tried like this before. And so that's kind of like what I like to do with the books as well. Like I want to create like a fun experience or a unique experience. So you'd be like, hey, what's this guy going to write? Because last time we wrote this, now he's writing this, now he's writing something else. And so it's just all, you never know what you're going to get. And so this is about, hey, you meet the girlfriend's parents and they're kind of like, pretty intense. And so there's different things that happen. Like, what's the biggest like stereotype whenever boyfriend goes to meet girlfriend's dad, right? Dad's got his shotguns, he's cleaning them. And so like, I'll take that, but I'll amplify it. So not only is he cleaning his shotguns, but he's like got the boyfriend's initials etched on one of the shotgun shells. He like challenges him, was like, hey, we're going to arm wrestle. And then the brothers come in and they like literally like jump them and like wrestle them to the ground. And so there's all these different crazy experiences that happens like with the girlfriend and the boyfriend, but also with her family. And so, like I said, each chapter is like an episode. And so it'll be like, oh, on next week's episode, blah, blah, blah. And so that's how it'll kind of go into the next one. And so no one knows they're being recorded throughout this whole time until like something happens. And then the boyfriend lets the girlfriend know like, hey, I've actually been recording your family. She's not even upset. She's like, you've been doing what? Why didn't you tell me? Like, I want to be a part of this. And so she joins in on it. It's like, hey, we should set up cameras this way and that way. Until it gets to the very end. And then he like has this huge reveal and it's like, oh, by the way, I've been recording you. And they're like, no, you haven't. And he goes on and he logs into the cloud and he shares, like starts streaming the content of like all these events that happen.
Oh my God.
And they're like, oh my gosh, you did. And so it ends with like, I leave it open-ended to where there could be a second book or third book. And so like I kept this like only about the brothers. Then I was like, oh, maybe I can write another one about the sisters. Then I can do a third one that's like all the kids and then all their kids, right? Because there's all these different dynamics that happens within families, especially with kids and nieces and nephews and cousins and stuff like that. So that was really fun to write.
Well, I have put the link in the comments, and so click on it and get this book. And do you see this as possibly becoming a movie?
I thought about like even the first book that I read, I was like, man, this could be like a really good TV show because like, this isn't the only thing that happened. Like everybody's like, oh, you're going to write a sequel. I was like, I could actually write a prequel because this house that I sold, like I had crazy stuff happen when I was trying to finish my basement. And so it's like, I could literally write a book about it. Then we moved into this house and I had crazy stuff happen in this house. I could literally write a book about this house. I could literally write 3 books right there. And I was like, man, Ryan Reynolds would be like the perfect guy to play the main character in Meth Burn Amazon because like, hey, he's just like a normal family guy. He's trying to sell his house and all this crazy stuff happens. Like he's hilarious. Like I feel like he would do a good job. So, but this one, the hysterical hangouts with Heinleins, I think that would be like a hilarious idea for comedy show as well, right? Because you can just keep going with it. And so it's like a Florida family, and like people in Texas could probably relate to like, oh yeah, I know my dad would have his guns out, right, trying to intimidate my boyfriend. And so like, I'll take those stereotypes, but like I'll go like way over the top with it in this one.
That's awesome. I have to ask you, having a full-time job, working in ministry, having 5 children, another one on the way, and spending time with your children and giving them that quality, where do you find the time to write?
I think the saying is like you'll sleep when you're dead, and so that's kind of like pretty much where I'm at. So like our youngest, he'll be 2 next month, and like he doesn't like he's like the only kid we have that like doesn't like sleep through the night consistently, and so like we'll lay him down like 10, 11 o'clock. And like 2 or 3 o'clock, he's up, and he's up again. And sometimes, like I think it's maybe a whole week is like he slept from like the time we laid him down until like early in the morning. But so he's like tough. And so then I don't know. When I had this idea, I was like, hey, I can take 2 hours here, I can take 2 hours there. And so I just like, hey, if we're not doing anything, I'll just go and write. And so my process is a little different than probably a lot of people's process. But like I'll write the first draft of the book on my phone. I have my phone a lot for work, checking my emails. So I literally write the entire draft of my notes on my phone, and then I'll use the computer from that point on to like edit and stuff. But I'm always near it. I'm always access to it. No, I don't dictate. I actually type it. I'm pretty quick with typing. I text a lot. So but I do that. And so like we'll go on walks, and it also helps with inspiration because like we'll go on a walk and the kids will like say something hilarious. And I'll be like, oh, that's a great name for like a character. And so like I've come up with character names out of crazy stuff my kids have said. I have a new book I'm going to write. My son was talking to my wife about like some plot he watches on some movie or show he watched. I was like, what? That's a great idea for a book. So I was like, I'm going to write a book about that. So like, you never know what's going to happen.
That's amazing. And that show, kids say the darndest things. It's
They
true.
do.
The things
Oh, it
that come
is.
out of children's mouths, it's just amazing. You're amazed
Especially
by
when they're
them.
young, and they don't
Yes.
lie when they're young either. So like it's true. Like what they're saying is probably what mom and dad said, or like one of the family members said. Like, where did he get that? Like, I've never heard him say that before. Like, yes, you do. You said that.
That's amazing. Now we talked about the other book a little bit when we shared your life because you talk about being a teenage parent.
Yeah.
And so let me put this one also in the comments so that um, people can get this book. Leaving Stronger Than You Started. And the visionary for this book, she was on a couple weeks ago before all this madness happened in Florida. Um, so you want to check out Leaving Stronger Than You Started. And his story of being a teenage married family is can be very encouraging to others, not just young parents, but parents in general. And the thing, where did you get the wherewithal to do the kinds of things that you're doing with your children?
Um, Honestly, I mean, I just try to just be present. And so, like, I remember when I was younger, like I said, I played a lot of sports. And so, it's like, hey, dad, can you come to like, this basketball game or this football game? Like, nah, I got to work. I'm too busy. He's like, your mom will be there. But like, it's important, like, like, hey, you remember the people that are there, but you also remember the people that aren't there. And I was like, I don't want to be that dad that's like, oh, when I'm older, they're gonna be like, Dad, you never came to my game, or you didn't
Yeah.
show up for this. I'm like, I'm not gonna be that. I'll always be there. And I'll do my best to like, hey, if I got a call and I can push it, like I'll try to do that. And so that's really just kind of where it came from, is just like, hey, I want to be present and make an impact. And sometimes like you're going to be an example to your kids one way or the other. You're either going to be a good example or a bad example. And like no one's perfect, none of us are perfect, and I think that's the beauty of it, right? Like people just got to stop trying to be perfect because you're never going to meet that standard.
I love what you just said. You're going to be an example for your children, whether it's good or bad,
That's right.
and so why not be the best parent? But sometimes parents have their own unresolved issues that make it difficult. You can't teach what you don't know, and you can't give what you don't have. And
They say
so,
things are caught, not taught.
yes, I love that. These are caught, not taught. And so being intentional as a parent is so important. And you also said something that I kind of drive home as well. If you are on the phone, if you are in a Zoom meeting, if you are in the middle of doing something else and your child comes and interrupts you, acknowledge that child.
Exactly.
Acknowledge that child. Even if you just let him know, okay, I hear you, I see you, I feel you. Spend that, even if it's only a minute
Yeah.
away from what you were doing. It is so important.
And
It
especially when you're
is.
young too, because like I have a almost 2 year old, and so like I'll go to take the dog out in the morning, and he'll be like, "Come with," and he'll like literally put his hand up and wants to take the dog out with me. And so like even simple things like that, like he feels like he's participating, and that's important for you as a parent to like take that extra 2 minutes to take him out there, hold him. Oh, you're gonna go get coffee and he wants to come with, bring him with you. Even if you don't want to, just bring him with you because he wants to be with you, or her
That
wants to
is
be.
so beautiful. And hearing how you are like a father, the father that you are, I had told you about a poem that I have written, and I could recite it, but I also have it as a video. So I'm going to play that right quick, and then we're going to come back and you're going to give us the last word. But I just feel so led to share this because you are the epitome of the type of father that can make a difference in their children's lives. So let me, okay, here it is. Okay. Why isn't it playing? Father, provider. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Protector, it's not playing. Role model.
It's playing
Oh,
now.
well. You see
playing.
it? Oh, it was
Yeah, I saw it. It stopped and then you hit it and then it played it.
Okay, but I don't, you see it, but why don't I see it on the screen? Protector.
Yeah,
there it is.
Role
okay,
model
I see it
for
on
a son.
YouTube.
The image of the man
But
that will be the husband
Do you hear
of
it?
your daughter when that time comes. What's best for your children should be concern number one.
You know what?
Regardless
I am just
of
going
any
to-
obstacle.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Father, provider, protector, role model for a son, the image of the man that will be the husband of your daughters when that time comes. What's best for your children should be concern number one, regardless of any obstacles a father must overcome. Sometimes the injustices of our society towards many of our fathers can make it hard to stand, but you got to stand and be a man and a father to your children in every way you possibly can. Demonstrate their worth through you by the words that you say and the things that you do. Don't ever put your children down or call them out of their name. They may become whatever you claim. Lift them up to higher ground. Let their inner beauty be seen, be found. Show them and tell them how special they are. Be the light. Be the light. You are the light to take them far. Show them and tell them how much you really care, and let them know no matter what, you will always, in all ways, be there. Pray that our fathers will be guided by the light to lead their children in the ways that are right. And I just want to say, I see you in that way. That's how I see you. Well, listen, I'm going to give you the floor and share whatever you want to share, and then we're going to wrap up.
All right. So yeah, I'm working on a couple new books. I have a new book hoping to be coming out probably in the next 6 months to a year. And then I'm working on another one I'm really excited about trust issues, and, you know, how we as humans, we have trust issues, all of us do. And I don't think it's crazy to say that. And it usually starts at a young age, right? The people that are put in your life to protect you, sometimes even your parents, they break your trust and they do a lot of damage. And that actually affects your ability to trust others as you get older. And ultimately, it even it affects your ability to trust God and sometimes even have faith in Jesus. And so my goal is to create this book and point people to Jesus by also showing them, like, hey, you're putting your trust in the wrong place. Your trust is in humans, and humans aren't trustworthy. Like, we're evil. We do all sorts of things. We sin, we lie, right? Like, your trust will get broken. It's a guarantee. And so don't let bad situations or bad things that happen affect your ability in that way. And so ultimately, it's about pointing people to Jesus and doing his will and accomplishing, you know, things for him to his glory. And so that's the book that I'm really excited about. I can't wait to write it because I haven't even started yet, but I have an idea about it. And so, yeah, I got 2 more books coming, hopefully in the next, year or so.
That's awesome. And trust is so important, and being able to, and you said something very significant. Oftentimes we don't learn how to trust because we've experienced the distrust, the mistrust, oftentimes as children. And so I really
Sometimes
appreciate.
you don't even know. Yeah, I realized this whenever when I was going through the discipleship program. I literally just finished yesterday after 16 weeks. And the very first week, he's like, I want you to write your testimony. I was like, well, I've been saved for a long time. Like, my testimony is boring. He's like, no, everybody's testimony is great. You're going to write it. I'm going to make you write it. And so I wrote it. And as I'm writing, I'm like, man, my trust was like the first time, like my very first memory was talking to a psychiatrist when I was like 3 or 4 years old. And so like some people have really great, hey, my first memory was like, oh, my dad taught me to do this or whatever. Like, I had bad experiences. And so I realized that my trust was broken at a young age, and it affected me so long for so many years. And I didn't even know about it. Like, I didn't even think about it. It wasn't until I did that I was like, oh, wow, like light bulb came on. Like, I can't be the only one that has this problem, because plenty of parents do plenty of terrible things, and it affects kids in a very impactful way. And so, I thought maybe if I shed some light on it and, wrote a book about it and continue to point people to Jesus, they'll see like, hey, you're not defined by that. It's not fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, because then you're just never going to trust anybody. And what kind of life is that to live? So.
Oh, beautiful. And you had mentioned that your mom had been sick. Is she okay now?
She actually passed away. So she passed away like my first book came out, and then the next month she passed. So she actually got to see me become an author and stuff, which was really cool. She was older. She was 82, I think, when she passed away. So
Okay.
yeah, she passed. My dad passed 10 years ago. So yeah, I got my wife's parents. So they're great.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, God bless you and my condolences.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. You have given some valuable nuggets, even in your books, in talking about your books, talking about your life, and most important for me, talking about being a father.
Yeah, it's the most
You,
important job we have.
yes,
That and
you
being a
are.
husband, right?
Yes, you are an awesome father. You are an awesome
Thank you.
father. And so God bless you. And I hope
Bless
to
you.
see you again on my show. So,
Yeah, it was wonderful. Thanks again for having me.
well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'm going to close this out, and I want you to hold on, okay? All right, we'll be right back. Thank you all for listening. Have a great weekend. And don't forget to vote. Do not forget to vote. All right. God bless. Bye-bye. What is
The Vera